I recently had the most comprehensive annual medical checkup I've ever had. Practically everything, it seems, was tested, and when I went to leave, the total bill was $301. I've been telling you for 10 years now about my positive experiences with Prince Court Medical Center in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. They're not a sponsor. They don't pay me to talk about this. My only recognition is winning the Malaysia Medical Travel Media Awards for telling you about my positive experiences, because I believe one of the benefits of having a home in Malaysia is that you come every year, you get the great weather in the winter, and you go to a place like Prince Court and you get your medical checkup. And if you need something else, you get a surgery. I've known people who have had surgeries at Prince Court. Tremendous care, good food, very attentive, and very reasonably priced if you're coming for the West. And I wanted to mention this to you now because Nomad Capitalist Live is going to be in Kuala Lumpur this year. And so some of you who are going to be attending might want to come a couple days early and get your own $301 annual physical. So this is what I got. Got a whole list of things here, executive health notes, and I still have actually the fork and spoon, because when you go, they give you lunch. You get to go to lunch at their very nice cafe. They have a nice snacks, but basically you get a ton of stuff tested, and I did the one that was called the Well Man. This is for people above 40. I'm not above 40, but I figured, you know what, why not? I'd like to treat myself to having more things tested, and so. Booked an appointment. You've got to book it 3 or 4 weeks in advance. They seem relatively booked. But you get to go to the executive medical center. So you go to this hospital, which almost in a way looks like a museum. You walk in. It's one of the most beautiful medical centers. And I've been to Bumrungrad in Thailand, and I've been to some of the ones in Singapore. But I think Prince Court really is the best. You walk in. You walk directly to the executive health center. You bypass registration, you bypass everything. They check you in about a minute, you sign one form, and then you sit down, and everything moves at a very fast pace. So I always take my laptop just to get some stuff done in case there's a lull in the action. And there's almost never a lull in the action because you're just moving from place to place to place. You get a whole bunch of stuff, which I'll share the list with you in a minute. But basically, you just have like an assembly line approach where you sit down, they call you, and then they start with taking your height and your weight and your blood pressure and all those kind of basic stuff. And then they just kind of keep sending you to the next person. And everything just happens very quickly. So sometimes you'll come out of like having your height and weight taken, and there'll be the next person like, okay, are you Mr. Andrew? Okay, you come over here. Now you're doing the audio test. Okay, sit in this booth. Okay, and then you come out of the booth, and then someone, okay, you come over here. And they basically shuttle you around, and you do all the tests. When you've got to go to, let's say, radiology and do an x-ray, they take you and they're like, okay, this is Mr. Andrew, he's part of the executive program, and within like 2 minutes, generally, you get called and you go back there. I go back to do the chest x-ray, woman comes in, okay, you, like, take off your shirt, go over there. It's like a hookup culture or something. And it's like, okay, you, all right, great, out you go. On to the next place, go over there. And the whole thing, I'll tell you what I got. The whole thing took just a little bit over 2 hours, including an initial meeting with the doctor. And they have all your records from the last time you came. So I try and go every year. And again, just a little bit over 2 hours. You get there at 9:15 in the morning. I think I left like 11:22. And then they give you a coupon to go to this cafe. And it's like prices from like the Cold War era at this cafe. You get like a sandwich for $1. They give you like $5 to spend on lunch, and it really goes a long way. Anyway, there's different treatments here. I did the Well Man for above 40 years old. It's 1,500 ringgit. They give you 10% off as I sit here. For using your MasterCard, and they charge you a 10 ringgit surcharge to register you. So total price, 1,360 Malaysian ringgit is what I paid, and I came out to, at time of payment, $301 US. Now, I did the research in the few minutes I had sitting there, because I was messaging all my friends, like, you got to come and do this. I'm probably going to put all of our employees on this. I'm going to bring them here to do this. Just getting the little, where you're running the treadmill with the ECG on, I saw the average price in the United States was like close to $2,000 just for that one thing. And I'm sure you don't come in and get taken care of within 2 minutes and have, executive level attention. So $301 for everything. At the end of that, 2 hours, you meet the doctor. She does the kind of a physical examination of you. Asks, are there any concerns? I said, I get this thing, can you look at this? Can you look at that? Okay, everything's okay. I would suggest doing this, I would suggest doing that. Okay, fine. So you get the kind of the initial physical checks, everything in the body. They do the vital signs monitoring, blood pressure, pulse, temperature. They do the tone audiometry to make sure your hearing is good. Vision testing. Body fat analysis, like the most advanced machine ever. I went to stand on this machine and it's like, all right, here's what you should do. All right, spoiler alert, I should lose a couple kilos. They do a lab test, fasting glucose. Okay, we'll just put it up here. These are the things, I don't know what most of this stuff is. Fasting glucose, uric acid, liver function. They basically test everything. Hepatitis B, HIV, full blood count, blood film, everything. And you can add extra stuff if you want to. I want to get tested for, whatever. You can add that and you can just pay additional. They do a lipid profile, everything. Then you go and you get a full cardiological assessment. So they did the resting ECG, and then you get in the treadmill. That's the one that I did for the first time this year for the over 40, which again, I'm not quite there, but I figured why not? I got a lot of stress. I figured I should put myself through the stress test. They do the radiological. You do the chest X-ray. They also put me on the bone and the spine examination, where they check your spine, they check your bones. They do an ultrasound, abdomen and pelvis, where they check all your different insides. And then they do some other radiology stuff. And then, so you leave at like 11:22. You have your $1 sandwich and your 50-cent guava juice. And they're like, all right, come back at 3:30. The doctor will have your full results. And so you come back at 3:30, and she gives you this. Let me take out my fork and spoon here. She gives you this lovely binder, including, which I find interesting in 2023, this lovely CD-ROM with your results. And basically says, what do you need to do? Spoiler alert also, by the way, I'm very healthy, and I'm happy to report that. Okay, lower your cholesterol just a wee bit. Eat a little less red meat. Otherwise, they just go through each and everything, and they put all your different information. And so it really is very impressive. And so if you're coming from the Western world, this is kind of the little things we talk about. Number one, again, knowing people who've had surgery at this hospital. I know someone who's given birth at this hospital. The experience, according to them, is better than what you'd find wherever it is that they're from, different places. There is an attentiveness. There is an efficiency, which it's part of the executive health center. And so as much as that's lost its meaning a lot of other places, executives don't have a lot of time to sit around. Certainly other people who are going there for just radiology may be sitting a little bit while longer. It's still overall very efficient, but it's a very efficient service. And again, the cost, this is kind of a small benefit of moving overseas. You can move to Malaysia, you'll dramatically slash your taxes, you'll have better weather year-round, you'll have nice people, you'll have plenty of things. Just had a friend of mine come from Eastern Europe. And he said, this is a lot cheaper than Eastern Europe just to live here every day. Obviously, the weather's better. And I had another friend come from the U.S. and say, this is better than most cities in the United States. Had family who came and said the same thing, better than most cities in the United States. So you can come to a place like Kuala Lumpur. Again, I think Bangkok maybe also has some of these services. Singapore certainly does, not as cheap. You can come, and the side benefit beside everything else I mentioned is your medical care is, God knows, 80, 90% less than what you'd pay, more efficient, more caring, and that's something that's worth it. And so if you're looking at coming to Nomad Capitalist Live, which I strongly suggest, this might be the kind of thing to look at. I'm not a medical doctor, don't take my advice, but certainly, getting a checkup at a much, much, much lower price If there's some procedure you need, you could get that in a place like Asia at a much cheaper price. And so this is kind of the small daily stuff we talk about how do you plant your flags around the world. I think a health flag, a medical tourism flag, is something that's worth considering. If not just for the lower price, if not just for the greater efficiency, but for the fact that everyone I talk to in the United States today says, I go to the doctor, I go to the hospital, nobody seems to care. It's like a machine. And there is a greater level of care in Asia than I think you'd find somewhere else. And there's facilities like Prince Court. Again, they don't pay me. I don't even think they know I talk about them. But there's a greater level of care than I think you'd find in a lot of other places. And I've been to, clinics and had, procedures in Europe. I do think it's better in Asia. So something worth considering, whether it's at Prince Court or somewhere similar. And by the way, they've got things if you're a woman below 40. I mean, it goes as low as like $200 if you need less or fewer things. If you're younger, you can get the simpler ones. And they also do all kinds of other stuff, by the way. I was planning a trip once that I canceled due to COVID, but I got my yellow fever vaccine. It took like 5 minutes. Much more efficient than you get anywhere else. So, strongly recommended, and something that you should keep in mind when you are planning where you're going to spend time. Again, if you're like me and you spend some time in Europe, you spend some time in Asia, I would build my health needs around my time in Asia. And if you're just starting to travel, consider making this a part of your trip.